Welcome back, friends! It's another episode of After Credits! And as you can tell by the terrible lighting and the bland background, I'm once again, on my own. Here I go again on my own! Now it's time for round 2 of Comedians Make Horror Movies with A Quiet Place, directed by John Krasinski, your good old buddy Jim from The Office, but he ain't that baby face no more. He's got the beard, he's got a camera, and he's ready to scare the living shit out of you. So, movie's about a family. They're stuck in an alien apocalypse. The aliens come down. They're blind, and so the only way they know how to hunt is by seeing. They've got these really cool, like, echolocation sacks, which they use to hunt their prey. They're bigger and faster than humans, and so really the only way you survive is you make as little sound as possible. And this family, led by John Krasinski, and actually also starring his wife Emily Blunt, they, with their 2 kids, are living in the wilderness out in this farmhouse and just trying to get by. And in a world where you have to plan every single step you take, the details that Krasinski's character goes into to avoid sound is just unfathomable. It's something that you wouldn't even imagine you would be thinking about. The way you eat, the ground you step on, the game pieces that you play with. And the 2 kids, you got the younger boy, who, I forget his name, I'm going to put this down here, and you've got the girl, her name is Millicent Simmons, and she's been getting most of the buzz because she's a deaf actress playing a deaf character. And what I liked about this character, she really is the standout because she's your typical preteen girl. She's headstrong, but she's really resourceful. She very much resembles her father in that way, where they will butt heads, but at the same time you can see where she's picking up some of what some of his example. She feels like a kid, not a perfect idyllic kid like that Charles Wallace creep in Wrinkle in Time. If you watched It Comes at Night, and you were mad that nothing came at night, this is more your speed. For me, it's like It Comes at Night by way of Gravity. And what I mean by that is, Gravity, simple premise, woman gets lost in space. The whole movie seemed to be centered around how many situations can we put Sandra Bullock in where she's in trouble, but oh no, she's alone in space. Similar thing here. I felt like a lot of this movie was putting these characters in situations where they're in danger, and oh no, you can't make a sound. I think I'm going to go into spoilers here, so if you don't want to know anything else but my final thoughts and scores out of 6 stars, scroll to the time code right here. If not, I'm just going to fucking get into it. So as something of this concept, movies like Don't Breathe or Hush, movies that kind of force you to take a different look into something, you're living in a movie where the sound is the main star, and the sound design, I really do wonder if the Academy may or may not remember the sound design here. Maybe it's too much of a gimmick for them, but hey, Baby Driver got nominated, so why can't this? It kind of shows how essential sound is to most of our daily lives, and when you have that removed, it's amazing how much you have to retool your life. Like, the way they're eating bread, none of them grab a piece of the crust. They're all grabbing from the inside. Like, it's kind of like a bread bowl where you're grabbing the inside of the bread bowl. And it's kind of like, whoa, wait a second. If you catch that, you're like, yeah, because if you bite into the crust, it makes a sound. And then one of the best scenes of the movie is whenever John Krasinski and the son kind of go out to the river to catch some fish, and he takes them to the waterfall, and John Krasinski lets out this, like, Tarzan-like whoop, and you see it on the kid's face. He's like, what are you doing? You're gonna kill us! But John Krasinski explains that, well, the waterfall's making noise. It's a huge sound. So my sound's not gonna make the aliens drawn to us. And you can see it in the little kid's face, that sort of, like, shock go to relief. And it's that moment where he can finally, like, be himself again, in a sort of sense, and just let out this scream. When I'm thinking about this movie, there's a symbol that comes up that kind of explains most of my feelings, whether it be really good or really bad about this, and it all kind of involves around the symbol of the rocket. At the beginning of the movie, you see the littlest brother. I didn't tell you this in spoiler-free section. There are originally 5 kids in the beginning. You can guess what happens. But the littlest brother is drawing a rocket in the sand, and he's signing to his sisters saying that this is the way we're going to get out of here. This rocket is our symbol of escape. And it basically is a symbol that you associate with the littlest brother throughout the whole movie. And they're in the pharmacy. Of course, like every dumbass kid, he climbs up on a bunch of shit trying to grab a toy rocket. And it made actually for a really funny scene whenever he almost drops the rocket, but the little girl does like this risky business slide to catch it. And then you see John Krasinski discipline his son, and he goes, no, you can't listen to that. No, you can't do it. So he takes the batteries out of the toy, sets it down, and the little sister, thinking, okay, well, the batteries are out, so there's nothing to worry about, she gives the rocket to the kid, and they leave. And then it's that scene in the trailer, they're walking across the bridge, and then you hear the toy rocket making a noise behind them. Of course, you hear the noise, and John Krasinski is looking back with a face that originally would say, did you steal that fucking toy? I feel like that's if my mother would have caught me with something like that. Immediately after that turn, you would have seen the chancleta just fly through the air and hit me atop the face. Krasinski runs to grab the kid because there's this extra level of danger, and when that kid is snatched, he is snatched. It is a brown blur flying across the screen, and it gives you a sense of stakes. Like, this is how much noise it takes for these creatures to be activated. This is how fast these creatures are. You can barely see them. There was a part of me at the beginning of thinking, like, really, this kid's not that young. He should know that if he's given the rocket without batteries, he can just use imagination and play. And I thought it was kind of dumb that, you know, the kid died like that. You know, I really did think it was kind of a dumb idea. But then, and this took me a while to really think about it, the scene later where the sister comes back to the side of the bridge, where they've created kind of one of those memorial, like, little crosses, kind of like you see on the sides of the road for hit-and-run victims. And she brings the rocket, and she's going to set it down, but she reaches inside the wiring and cuts the wire that makes sound, and so lets the lights of the thing kind of flash out. To me, that represented a couple of things. One being the theme of adapting to survive. Not always as simple as, we need to just remove the sound, and that's it. Because by nature, you understand how psychologically that doesn't really work for us. We're trying to make sound because that's in our DNA. That's how we live. That's how we experience the world. And so that need to adapt to go into the wiring of that toy and make a better change. That, to me, kind of represented the shift of ideas throughout the movie, where the little girl, for her, it was as simple as, oh, the batteries are gone, so whatever, we can just leave it alone. But now, no, she actually has to really make an effort in order to change the toy and make it suitable for this world. I thought that was her growing up in this world. When I saw that, it kind of made the goofiness of the original scene, like, it took it away, because really, that kind of, it got to my heartstrings. She blames herself for the little brother dying because he gave her because she gave him the rocket. But now you sort of see where that process of grief and guilt finally kind of comes to acceptance, and her moving forward and her learning and becoming wiser as a person because of it. It's a tough scene. And so Brittany and I went to go see this movie, and we had a debate in the car, which I'm going to chalk up to miscommunication, but it might be a bit of a plot, not necessarily a plot hole, just a bit of editing confusion. There will be times when the creature will sneak up behind Millicent Simmons' character, and, you know, she's deaf, so she can't hear that the thing's, like, right behind her, and that's a moment of suspense. But when the thing starts using its echolocation to try and find her, her hearing aid sends back feedback, and it ends up increasing the feedback in her head and also the alien's head, so it starts kind of like hurting it. And at that point you're thinking, oh, that's the weakness. You can just get like this high frequency sound, kind of like a dog whistle, and like you could scare them off, or you can really hurt them with that. And then there's a part later in the movie when it's the climax. The kids are hiding inside this truck, and the monster is just like attacking it. And the hearing aid thing happens again, but this time instead of kind of chasing off the monster just starts attacking the truck even more. And this happens later in the movie with a TV, that the monster will destroy a TV. And Brittany and I kind of got into this debate of like, well, why was the creature scared at this moment but not at this moment? And this might seem like a cop-out for me just because it's kind of narrative understanding. Like, if you do one thing and it hurts the alien, then it should hurt the aliens the whole time. That's kind of how we expect it. But I think we forget sometimes that not every member of a species is the same. There is that sort of fight or flight response in humans, so whenever we're disturbed with something, we can either choose to confront it or to run away from it. And so whenever we look at aliens in this movie, I don't think in most movies we give aliens the credit of that not every alien is going to react the same to the same stimuli. That might be something that doesn't gel with people, but that was something that popped in my head, so I don't know if that's maybe something y'all saw in that too. If we're talking about other things that I didn't like, this is the main one for me. Pregnancy. Emily Blunt is pregnant throughout maybe half of this movie. And the reason I have a problem with that is, again, the gravity scenario. It feels like just another obstacle you're throwing in these characters' faces that really don't make sense given the rest of the world. Now, I brought this up to Brittany, and Brittany's like, well, you know, shit happens. You don't pull out in time. Sure. I feel like after losing my youngest child, the psychological damage that I would have received based upon that, I wouldn't want to have sex. Just because of that scenario, you know, a crying baby. I mean, it's obvious, man. And especially, not just in the sense of, like, I need to survive, so to avoid as much noise as possible, but just, I lost a child that way, and just having that option there of maybe losing another child to this thing, if not everybody, because of the danger that a crying baby presents, to me, it just didn't seem fathomable. Especially in a movie where the characters, John Krasinski and Emily Blunt, they take so many precautions in order to avoid making noise. And there are moments in the movie where the creature does get into the house, and it's not always related to that. There's a scene where Emily Blunt is seeing an alien inside the house, and she has to run away, but when she's going down the stairs, bringing back that nail, she gets the nail in her foot. And I already thought that in and of itself was enough of kind of like an emotional obstacle to get over. Not only that there's an alien in my house, but also I've got this big fucking bloody gash in my foot. But on top of that, of course, she has her water break at the same time. And it just kind of seemed like a building block of inconvenience. One of the last points I want to kind of bring up is I like the way that being a parent is represented in this. And it's mostly in the scene whenever John Krasinski is trying to give his improved hearing aid to the daughter. And the daughter, kind of frustrated with lack of results, she's just constantly signing him, stop. And what struck me about this first, even before that dialogue, was the way the shot was framed. Where it was shot kind of from John Krasinski's eye level, where he's on the ground and he's looking up. You'd think in him trying to be sort of the father, you'd have the father kind of in power and the daughter at the bottom. But really, it was him kind of lowering himself. If you remove sound, think about how many times your parents have, like, yelled at you to not do something. Or they'll be like, boy, get off that motherfucking couch! That kind of shit. Or if your parents ever spanked you as a kid, you know, that sound of the belt or the shoe or whatever they used to hit you. Once you remove that, parenting becomes completely different. For John Krasinski, in that scene where she's signing at him to stop, don't touch me, don't try to do this, John Krasinski is going to try to be a parent by using his ideas and his words, and he's trying to kind of debate with her. It was a different look at fatherhood that I hadn't really grasped yet until, again, you're removed from the original scenario. When you're forced to look at things a different way, it kind of ties back into that whole adapt to survive mentality. So, if you scroll to the time code, welcome back. We are here talking about final thoughts and scores out of 6 stars for A Quiet Place. And for me, like I said before, A Quiet Place is not a perfect movie, but where it shines is in the details involved with the scenario and the relationships between the characters. The character work is so strong here that it really kind of moved me at points. It almost brought tears to my eyes because I'm like, oh my god, like this is really tough to get through. Unfortunately, what kind of keeps me from going full raving on it is just kind of the nitpicky things, the ending, and I say nitpicks because if you're so involved with the details of this movie, then so should I. You know, if you're really thinking about it to a degree where, like, even the way you eat bread is thought about, then I don't feel any need to detract some of this because of the nitpicks. But some of the main plot points, some of the sort of scenarios that the characters are put in just because they need a scenario to create tension and jump scares, that kind of docked it down for me. So I'm going to go 4.5 out of 6. Still a damn good movie. Check this out in a theater. Even if it's a full-packed theater, I promise you, this is the quietest screening I've been in since Martin Scorsese's Silence. If you're kind of like a fan of like these popcorn jump scare flicks, I was sitting next to a girl the entire time with her fingers in her ears and eyes looking like this, so don't worry if you think it's going to be It Comes at Night Part 2. This is definitely more of like a mainstream horror movie vibe, but with some smart direction and great cinematography, great characters behind it. So definitely recommend it. And if you like this video, please click the like button, subscribe, the notification bell. Click that motherfucking notification bell to be aware whenever we put out new content. We got Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram if you want to follow any of our bullshit on there. And as far as a couple videos I've got coming up, I've got an episode of Viewer's Choice. I know, it's crazy, right? Viewer's Choice, that still exists? Yes, it does! And I've been putting this off for way too long, but today I'm going to finally do it. Ponyo. Ponyo is going to come out sometime next Tuesday. If you really like Hayao Miyazaki movies, definitely check that video out. Recommended by my dad, of all people. So I'm going to give my dad his shout out and give that video out soon. As far as new releases, we've got The Rock's Rampage. So excited for this. I want a good, stupid time, and next week we're not only getting 1 dose of stupid with Rampage, we're getting 2. 2 awesome men. We collaborated with them on Ready Player One, and now we're going to go on their channel to talk about Blumhouse, Truth or Dare. This just, wish upon for this year. Give it to me. It's so stupid. These Joker smiles that make the kid in Gotham look believable. Expect all that to be filmed next week. Ponyo to be recorded then. I'm planning on releasing Rampage probably next Saturday or maybe a little bit before that. And we're just going to keep on rolling. You know Infinity War's coming up. We're going to have some Marvel videos. Don't you worry. We'll give you some content, some excitement before Avengers 2 comes out. Avengers 3, Part 1. Yeah. So, until we... God damn it! Until we do any and all of these things, thank you very, very much for watching. Y'all take care, and see you around.